Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jeremy. This is Strange Radios, and it is time for a review of Malibu Ken. Malibu Ken. Malibu Ken is the latest project for Aesop Rock, rapper, legendary rapper, my favorite MC ever, and producer Tobacco, who I am very much less familiar with. But Tobacco and Ace had collaborated previously on a track, and so I was interested, especially after the first single for this album was dropped, how this collaboration would grow and what would sort of come of it. Basically, we have an album of just incredible beats. The music on this is very lush in a very sterile way, like a very synthesized way, but it's a gorgeous sounding album. On top of which, Aesop Rock is Aesop Rock. He's always on the top of his game, and he always finds a way to fit whatever beats he's on top of, and he does the same on this. And what's interesting is that I don't think I've ever heard Ace on top of tracks that sound quite like this before. It's a very interesting musical landscape they have cultivated here. The music itself is, if I could describe it in a way of clashing two things together, it's like taking the happiest side of Nine Inch Nails and combining it with the darkest side of Tangerine Dream. And that's sort of in the wheelhouse of what these songs sound like musically. It's a very glitchy sound. It's a very cinematic sound. At moments, it's very triumphant. Some of these things all at the same time. It's got these very bright synths. And the whole album has a very mesmerizing quality to it, a very hypnotic quality to it. If you just sit back and let it wash over you, it's very mesmerizing. That, of course, is if you don't pay attention to what Ace is rapping about. And Ace on this record isn't really breaking new territory in terms of subject matter. He's touching on things that he's touched on before. Isolation, mortality and death, aging, which kind of goes along with that, also being an introvert, and talking about cats. You know, these are all things that Aesop Rock touches on almost every single record. But what makes Ace great at what he does is that he continually finds new ways to say these things, and he continually finds new angles to come at it. You know, new ways of looking at these particular subjects, new perspectives on death, new perspectives on aging and mortality and being an introvert and isolationism. He's finding new ways to present these ideas, new sort of metaphors and similes to work with to sort of get across what it is he's rapping about. You know, and then at other points on this album, he does talk a bit about sensationalist politics. He does talk about sort of rap in general, and critiquing the rap game as it were. And there is also a track about Ricky Casso. That was the lead single, Acid King. A track about Ricky Casso, a murderer from the 1980s, I want to say. And it's a compelling story, one that he had touched briefly on the album None Shall Pass. There's a passing line about having Ricky Casso jitters. And it was a story that I was unfamiliar with until he dropped Acid King, and I listened to it, and then I went and researched who the hell Ricky Casso was. Also found out that Teenage Dirtbag by Wheatus was inspired by the Ricky Casso murder, which is bizarre. But that song makes so much more sense now. Anyways, that's not important. And then there's funny lines. There's, you know, that sort of joking braggadocio that Ace does every now and again. That creeps in here too. But again, it's such a weird combination of Ace's sort of robust vocabulary and very intricate rhymes and stories, sort of on this bed of just shimmering, glitchy, hypnotic, cinematic synthesizer. It's something I kind of want to hear more in the future. In terms of lyrics on this thing, I mean, Ace is a killer. It's what he does. You know, he works hard to create very interesting songs, and they are very interesting. There's a couple tracks on this record, I'm not going to lie, I don't fully understand what they're about. You know, some of them do come across very obvious. The Ricky Castle one, because he name checks it and he just goes detail by detail to the story. But, you know, and Corn Maze is very obviously about being an introvert. And Tuesday, I assume, is about sort of isolation and kind of loneliness. You know, there's a couple tracks, like I said, I don't fully get what he's going for, but I enjoy the vibe. I enjoy the pictures that he paints in my head with his language. And, like, the funny moments, like on Suicide Big Gulp, there's a moment where he's having this back and forth with himself. And it's like, Ace isn't here, man. Ace, I can tell it's you. Tell it's me from over there. This ain't a fucking petting zoo. Aesop Rock is my favorite MC by far. I mean, the guy is just miles beyond what anyone else is doing. And I get that that's very subjective. I get why people don't grasp onto Ace the same way I do. It's just that for what I'm looking for from rap and what I'm looking for from hip-hop is exactly what Aesop Rock is giving me. So yeah, I think this is first of all, a beautiful sounding album. And again, having not been very familiar with Tobacco coming into this, man, this is really interesting. And Ace, again, just kills it. This is a wonderful, wonderful record. I would highly recommend checking it out. Link down below. Oh yeah, I guess I should give it a score. I'm feeling an 8.1 out of 10 on this. It's fantastic. It's really good. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment down below if you've listened to it. What do you think of this record? This has been Strange Radios. Stranger, adios.